it's good afternoon for me because I'm in Portland, Oregon, but it is good evening for you guys. Hello, Blues. So City Dave here. Tom unfortunately couldn't make it tonight, so joined by Laney, Mr. Opinionated, right there. We've got Lee on board as well and Jane, so thank you for joining for us today. Bring the comments as usual as we're talking along, and we'll try and answer them as we go along. So first thing I'm going to do tonight, guys, is I'm going to give you a who am I. So I'm going to give you this players, the clubs that he's played for. If you know the answer, don't tell me now, just tell me at the end. So I'm going to run through them now, okay? So here are the teams he's played for in no particular order. Atalanta, Regina, Cagliari, Manchester City, Lazio, Torino, Perugia, Mallorca, and Bologna. Actually thought he was going to be a really, really, really good player for us, and he didn't actually stay that long. Yeah. So there's your little clue there. But yeah, a massive amount of Italian clubs that he played for. And it's quite a few years ago now. So have a think on that, and I'll come back to you at the end. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is basically we are still a club who is creating a lot of chances. We're burying a lot of goals. We've actually beaten the number of goals we've scored in the league from last season, which takes some doing. But then at the other end, this is quite going to probably surprise you a little bit. Ederson's kept numerous clean sheets this season, but we still have these defensive frailties. So the first big question out today is really looking at who do you think that we need to sign? What positions do we need to sign? And open checkbook, if we had one, who would you like to see at Manchester City before the start of next season? So that's where we're starting this tonight. And I'm going to, because I already gave Laney a little bit of background on this, I'm going to go to Laney first and let him take the reins.
Okay. For me, it's obvious. I mean, I know we've scored plenty of goals this season and we've kept plenty of clean sheets, but obviously we're not going to win titles and stuff if we're beating the likes of Watford and whoever else 6-0 each week, but then when we come up against Southampton, we're losing 1-0. I think the match against Arsenal really proved two key things for me. We need a centre-back and we need a striker. I know you said 4 players, so for me it's a no-brainer. I'd have Diaz and Upamecano both signed for us. Two good central defenders. I think Upamecano would play really well with Laporte. Both of them are French. Both of them are fairly young. Neither of them are what you would call first-choice French internationals. If you look at the other players that are out there, like Umtiti and Varane, they're kind of down the pecking order for centre-backs for France, which I think really would help us because they're going to want to play for France. They're going to give everything every game. But at the same time, less chance of them getting injured on international duties, which obviously with Laporte being injured for most of this season, that's been a problem. I think Diaz would be brilliant to come in, rotate a bit with Laporte, keep the central defence fresh. And I think it would also give us an option if we wanted to play 3 at the back. You know, I think that could be a potential for certain games, give Pep an option. And then up front, I would want. There's only one man. It's Haaland. If the rumours are true about a £63 million release clause, you give me any other player in the world you could get for that money who would score the goals that he would, and would potentially be at the club for 10 years. I can't see any single player. And then I think looking further to the future, I would like to see Fabio Silva signed for City. He's 17 years old. He plays for Porto. I think we could have Aguero for another season. maybe 2 at a push, but we're going to need to replace him. Haaland isn't the Aguero type of player. He's a goal scorer, but he's not your tenacious Tevez, Dikov, Aguero style player. But I think Fabio Silva could be. So they would be my 4.
Okay,
Nice
so
and
2
easy.
centre-backs and 2 strikers for you. All right, who's ready next? Lee, Jane, who wants to take it next?
Yeah, I'll go for it, mate. Yeah, I'm completely in agreement. Defence, definitely the rehaul. And we've missed Aguero, like you say, this year. When he's not playing, you can tell. Any other player we've got, kind of, obviously apart from probably De Bruyne, kind of half replaceable. But when Aguero's not playing, we just haven't got that menacing up front. So again, I completely agree. If it was my open checkbook, I'd go straight for Haaland. Offer him decent wage. He's losing the wage of Silva, potentially Bravo. I think he's supposed to be on his way. Mm-hmm. Aguero in the next couple of years, there's massive wages you can then back up. So I personally, Haaland would be my first choice, especially like I say, 63 million. That's an absolute steal. Been asked for him following his dad's footsteps as well. And so it'd definitely be number 1. Number 2, probably Koulibaly, defender. I'll rate him. I think he'll be a great sign if he comes. It looks pretty good, to be fair. Ian Wright seems to, I don't know why he's the expert, but seems to think that's going to happen. As for the other 2, do you know what? I'm quite happy with what we've got. Obviously, you know, Messi's on the old rumour mill again. Obviously, that'd be nice just for the shirt sales and just to say we've had him. But yeah, so definitely our priority needs to be defence. Absolutely, before anything else, defence. Get that defence sorted out. Offload Stones, in my opinion. Otamendi looks like he's on his way as well. I've seen rumours today. I can't remember who it was. I saw.
Yeah, looks Real Betis, I think, are after
he's
him.
been linked, hasn't he? So
yeah.
And failing that, bring Micah Richards out of retirement. He's got to probably do a better job than most of the back 4 have this year. But yeah, that'd be my definite priorities. But as far as midfield, I don't think we need to touch that because
no.
Foden's going to walk straight into Silva's position. He's incredible so far. Probably in my top 2 favourite players. I mean, him and Ginger Kev. So defensive wise, we're incredible. I don't need to touch or do anything there. We're pretty solid. So yeah, I think a striker to replace Aguero. Haaland would be my first choice. Failing that, beating the old financial fair play, go in for Mbappe.
That would be nice.
That would be,
yeah. So Jane, what about you? You agree, or you want someone else?
Well, I'm not really good on the other players that are available. Definitely in terms of positions, then defence we can be quite woeful. Even with all the possession we had against Watford last night, whenever it was, they still got in behind us quite easily. They still did have a couple of strikes on target, so we've got to shore up the back because there's no point. You know, you've got to have a balanced team, haven't you? There's no point having great strikers if actually we're just going to keep letting all the goals in, and we can't rely solely on a goalkeeper to keep a clean sheet. He's got to have that backup of a good defence line in front of him. And yeah, striker. I think it's interesting that, you know, we started the season bemoaning the loss of Laporte and how much having one player out had made such a difference for us. And then we're also talking about we're actually really missing Aguero out with injury. And yet you look at the value and the skills of the other players, but they're not necessarily playing as they need to. And it's easy to think about another player being really good that's playing for someone else, but will he still play well when he comes in and joins another team and with a different manager? Because that changes changing the makeup of the team, and how that team functions is actually as important as the skills of that person that you're bringing in.
Yeah, Jane, I couldn't say it better myself. I've been saying on a few of the podcasts recently, I think our biggest signing this summer should be Pep Guardiola on a longer term contract, because right now, you know, Chris and I have been talking about right now he's gone in 12 months. And if we bring in some players now and spend a ton of money, then what are we going to do in 12 months' time if he leaves? Does it mean that we bring in a new manager and it's a new formation, new tactics, new way of playing? It's a toughie, and I wish, we've kind of talked about this a few times now, that probably internally Manchester City know as a club what's going to happen with Pep Guardiola, but it's frustrating as a fan that we would all like to know a little bit more. That is he in there for the long haul? Does he want to see how Foden, Jesus, if we bring in Torres, Garcia, etc., develop, or is he going to leave us in 12 months' time? And if we do, we always know that a new manager wants funds to spend, and if we're going to spend 200 million this summer, are we going to absolutely have to do the same again next summer? And then all financial fair play comes in again as well. And I don't want to go down that path ever again. Here are some.
Can I just say, Dave, before we move on, I think I always find it really interesting because, to me, City fans as a breed, we're romantics, aren't we? It's all drama, and the way everyone takes to Pep and the things Pep has done for us, it's like a fairy tale. But I really do sometimes just sit and think, is he the man we want to sign a new contract with? He's got 12 months. The first season, even our players didn't know what the plan was. They were adjusting. That second season, our team got it, and no one else could touch us. And since then, more and more teams are sussing us out, and it just seems like Pep's out of ideas. He doesn't have the ideas to really change it. He might do it for one game, like he did with Real, and like he did last season with Liverpool. But the teams against like Wolves, Southampton, Palace, Newcastle, we're always struggling. And I just think, is Pep Guardiola really the manager we want for the next 5 years? Is he going to be the man who's going to revamp our club? Because every team that he's managed, he's won stuff. But every team he's managed are already winners. He was at Barcelona, a team that had won everything. He went to Bayern Munich, a team that had won the league. He came to City. The vast majority of players had already won the league with us. So is he really the man to basically start from scratch and rebuild a team that are young and move on? Is he the man to do that for the next 5 years? And I'm not convinced he is, personally. I know I'm going to get shot down now, and next time I'm at the Etihad, I'm going to be strung up and hung from the nearest tree. But joke's on them. I'm too fat. The branch would snap, so I'm all right.
What do you think of that, Lee, Jane? With Centurions, we play absolutely beautiful football, but we've struggled this season when teams have put players behind the ball. We've struggled. Do you think Pep's the right manager for the next several years, or are you happy for the next year and then bring in a Nagelsmann or someone like that in 12 months' time?
I'd like to see Pep continue. I think that he may well have to have a bit of a think about how he moves the team forward, because obviously, as was said, we are being found out, if you like, in terms of the way that we play, so that other teams are able to take advantage. But part of the issue, I think, is what we saw against Arsenal, because we all have a bad day every now and then, but we had a whole team having a bad day on the same day, and we've seen that a few times this season. So it's not just about the tactics of the game; it's about the build-up, maybe the mentality. I don't know, but there's something else there. It's not just about the tactics of the actual match on the day, and that needs to be addressed. So perhaps an example is about John Stones, because when he came to us, he was like this, bright new star that was going to be all singing and all dancing in defence. And what we've seen recently is a chap that seems to be sort of broken. And do you not, is the answer to just then say, oh, well, we'll forget about all the money that we've invested in him and we'll just sell him off just like that? Or should the club be looking at more into understanding the issues for him? What has changed him? I've managed teams for a long time, not football teams, but teams of people for a long time. And you don't just say to somebody, oh, well, you're performing under par, sling your hook. You get to the bottom of why someone's performing under par and you do your utmost to resolve it. If with that extra support they can't change, then fair enough. But I don't know, because we're on the outside looking in, we don't know what's gone on already to try and adjust things for him. But I would like to see Pep remain.
Yeah, I'm with Jane 100% there. I think the only player you've got to look at to prove that point, Sterling. You look at the massive dip in form he had. Everyone was like, oh, get rid of him. He's this, that and the other. And then lately he's just been on fire. So something in his head's changed. And I think a lot of it is the mental, especially when you look at someone like John Stones. You have a bad 3, 4, 5. They see all the posts on social media about them, slating them. Next day they go into a game, they've got that on their mind, they're thinking, right, okay, God, they probably try and overdo it too much. And I just think the pressure's unbelievable on the players now to have the perfect, because we've set up bar so high in the past, the expectations there to be 10 out of 10 every game, week in, week out, and that pressure's quite a lot to take on as a player, I believe. And like I say, if you have a bad 2 or 3 games in a row, mentally, and your confidence just drops, and then it's in your mind. Then, like, every time, say, if you're a defender, every time the attack coming forward, you've probably got that in the back of your head saying, right, I can't get this wrong because if I do, I'm getting dropped and I'm going to get slated by the media, by social media as well, especially. So I think, like you say, I agree with Jane in the fact that they should be looking, why is Stone's form dropped so much, as they probably did with Sterling. But I think they must have spoke to Sterling, worked with him, see what was going wrong, because now he can't do no wrong at the minute. So... yeah, I'm with you on that one. But well, I'd give Pep 5 more years. I love the bloke. You think what he's done to some of the players, he makes great players incredible. He makes average players world class. So I personally would keep him for as long as we can. Because I think as well, we risk having the exact same effect as when Fergie left United. That mental... he's not our boss anymore. They just went downhill. And I can see the same happening for us. We get another manager. If Pep leaves, who do you replace him with? Unless Vinny's going to come back, or Arteta maybe. Maybe that's the long-term plan. But I just can't see anybody walking in there and doing what he's done for us.
No, I think Vinny will be back one day, but I think next season is too soon. He's got to prove his mettle, hasn't he, at Anderlecht first, before he does that. And I think every Manchester City fan wants Vincent Kompany as head coach one day and Pablo Zabaleta as assistant. I think that's our utopia to get to eventually, but I think that's a few years off. So here are some... so Chris Kinnear has said Koulibaly, Ake and Torres. That's who those are the 3 that we'll link with anyway of bringing in. Dan Fielden has gone for Skriniar, Torres, Belotti, and yet again he said push Jesus out to the left. He's gonna keep saying that. See if there's anyone else on here.
Has he not asked for Diaz, Fielden?
Well, that's the surprising thing. He's not said Diaz.
Surprise omission. Has he fell out?
Dan, what's going on?
I don't personally see what Ake is going to bring us.
Why would you want a centre back who's just being relegated?
Exactly. Do you know what? It's not just his fault of getting relegated, but at the same time, if they're playing for Bournemouth, they're not at the level they need to be our number 1 centre back, are they? So
that's what I say. Let's replace Aguero with Divock Origi.
Yeah.
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't do it.
I mean, it depends, doesn't it, as to whether or not you're wanting someone who's going to come in now and play at that top level now, or whether you're bringing someone in that you're going to develop who's going to be, you know, at the top in 2 or 3 years' time.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
Yeah.
I
I
like
think we
this
have the
thinking.
players at the club already for developing. You've got
Yeah.
Howard Bellis, you've got Garcia.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we could even bring back. I mean, I know me and Dave have mentioned the likes of Denier and Adarabio. You know, they're still young, still on the books.
What are your thoughts on Jordan Sancho? I think if he didn't treat us how he did, like, you know, if he just said, look, you know, I want more, not, you know, I deserve this amount of money, I'm better than this, I'm better than that. I think that's what rubbed everyone up the wrong way with him. But he, to be fair to him, has kind of proved his point by how good he has been. But,
Talent-wise, he's got it. I think his ego is going to be his issue.
Yeah.
Even at Dortmund, some of the players have had to pull him aside and just say, "Oh, you stop being a dick." You know, I honestly think he thinks he's better than he is. I mean, he's good, but I think he reckons he's Bertie Big bollocks, and we can do without that in the team, to be honest.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter how big somebody thinks they are, how good somebody thinks they are, because what you need is somebody who's good in a team.
Yeah.
They've got to be team
absolutely.
players.
Spot
Do you know
on.
what
And as
you're
they
saying
say,
that?
there's no I in team.
Do you know, our
Yeah.
biggest problem for a lot of years, I think, we've always had that bad egg, haven't we? We've had Balotelli, you know, causing scenes everywhere, fireworks in his house, all the rest of it. You've had
Barton.
Tevez went on his golfing holiday. Barton. There's always been that one player that seems to disrupt everyone, even Torres, to be fair to an extent, with birthday cake saga and all the rest of that. But at the minute, I think for the last 2-3 seasons, we've not had any players that kind of hog the limelight, try and get in the media, try and maybe Mendy a little bit with his Twitter, but that's sort of harmless, isn't it? But we've not had that player that sort of seems to cause a rift among the team. And I think that's what's done us a world of good
Yeah.
for a long while.
Agreed. So I'm definitely with Jane to a degree. You know, it's not going to cost us 60 million to get some more support and for John Stones, you know, and to really get to the bottom of, you know, what's going on. We understand there's things been happening in his personal life, and you know, we've been talking about, you know, on the show about, you know, maybe just getting out of Manchester, and you know, there's rumours about maybe him going to Newcastle or Leeds, and you know, where he'd be the big player there. Maybe not be a bad thing, but it maybe not be a bad point to, you know, as Jane says, is to just get to the bottom of this with him. You know, why is he underperforming? He's a £50 million player who was a England international. You don't lose that overnight, and trying to get to the bottom of that rather than going spending 50, 60, 70 million pound on Koulibaly or whoever else, maybe it's the right thing to do.
There's no guarantee either. You spend that, like say, 50, 60, 70 million on a new defender, they're not going to come in be exactly the same. There's no guarantee there at all. Like you say, as I think Jane said earlier, just because you've made it in Italy, made it in Spain, made it everywhere, the Premier League's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, like you say, some people might be quality abroad. I mean, look at Lukaku. Didn't do it in the Premier League, and now he's looks like a new player now.
Yeah, it's that environment's so important as well, isn't it? You know, I think Lukaku was a real confidence player, and it looked like the managers he played under at United and Chelsea just didn't value him.
No,
he goes, you know, they spend a lot of money on him at Inter Milan, which immediately means, hey, we've got faith in you. You know, we think you can do a job, and he's repaying Conte back in spades. So, yeah, I think you're right. Do you think that we are, you know, we talked about Pep a little bit, and, you know, we've heard a lot about this whole motivation thing this week. You know, when the chips have been down in these games, you know, like Laney was mentioning before, you know, with Southampton, do you think we've really missed that leadership in the dressing room and even on the pitch this year? You know, we don't have a company. I think David Silva's the best player ever wore a Manchester City shirt. Wonderful. But is he that voice, you know? Fielden's kind of mentioned, you know, Delph before, these big characters in the dressing room, and we don't seem to have had those who will just kind of grab players or just grab a game by the scruff of the neck, where we have been struggling a little bit and do that. Do you think we need to bring a player like that in? They don't have to be the greatest in the world. I'm I mean, Lee's wearing his, 99 top there. Andy Morrison, for me, wasn't the greatest player in the world, but the leadership he brought to that Manchester City team, he dragged them out of the second division, into a higher league. Do you think we need that kind of player on the pitch and on the dressing room who can just grab other players by the scruff of the neck sometimes?
Absolutely, definitely, 100%. Yeah, I've said that for a while now, that we haven't got that leadership. That's all. So about Andy Morrison, I met him outside the old club shop at Main Road when I was about 8. Yeah, first player I ever met he was.
And he loves City as well. And, it comes through now. If you read him on Twitter and whatever, I think he's an ambassador, right, for the club right now. You just feel that we've been so spoilt with having Vincent Kompany for so many years, and as Fielden pointed out, we had Delph as well. Maybe wasn't a starter, but he seemed to have a real voice in the dressing room. And this year, when the chips are down, when we've struggled a little bit, we don't have the cameras in the dressing room, but I think it appears to a lot of fans that we've not got that voice there who can drag those players into a performance or do something themselves. That I would be happy for us to go with a bit of an older player who just has that influence in the dressing room. We talked before, me Fielden, a little bit about maybe, I would love a Bonucci. I think Bonucci's 33 now, but the experience that he'd bring to Manchester City and the voice and respect that he would have in that dressing room, I would absolutely love something like that, because Guardiola can't do that on the pitch. He's kind of saying the other day, wasn't he? It's not my job to motivate, I coach them and then they go on the pitch. I know Laney he's shaking his head, he disagrees with that. I think really what he meant, Laney, by that was that he can't influence that on the pitch, because we don't have that influencer right now. And I think that's really the point he was making. And I think we do miss that. We love these beautiful players who can do amazing things, De Bruyne, Silva, Laporte, etc. But we don't have someone who's shouting the bollocks off at the other 10 players.
Sure, I think it highlights it as well. Sorry, mate. I think it highlights as well when you watch these games on telly without the crowd. A lot of teams, you can hear them constantly shouting and bellowing. You just don't hear that with our games. I try to watch it without the sound anyway, because it's weird. I don't like it, but yeah, a few times I have. It just seems so quiet, and like you get the odd shout here and there, but nothing like you say, as you expect company to. You see him probably bellowing at the defence, and there don't seem to be, like you say, I agree there. David Silva, like you say, world-class player, but I can't see him giving players a bollocking at half-time if they're not pulling away, as you'd expect the captain to do.
He's doing. What do you think, Jane?
I think, yeah, because we had Vinny and he was sort of orchestrating things really out on the pitch, and we don't know what goes on in the dressing room, but. And I think the stuff about what Pep said about motivating or not motivating and not his job to motivate, I think that's about English isn't his first language. And perhaps what he meant by that was more about, with the amount of money they're getting paid, they ought to be motivated enough to go out there and do a good job for the money that they're being paid. And secondly, that, once they're out on that pitch, then it's up to them, because we can see him gesticulating and getting very animated on the sideline, but there's huge limitations to what he can do from that position. So having somebody that actually is able to orchestrate and maybe, tweak a bit in terms of, if there's a sub on, and things aren't quite working out, that you can, go say, well, actually, can you go and play a bit wider or come in a bit closer, whatever, so that keeps very much the way in which Pep wants us to play, but at the same time can make those minor amendments on actually within the game whilst it's happening. And certainly in terms of our defenders, definitely. Yeah.
So, all right, Chris. Brace yourselves. Your turn.
With the squad itself, to me, it's been an issue we've had now for 20, 30 years, pretty much as long as I've been watching them. City always seem to be this team that if one key player is out, we all go to pot. I mean, if we keep it more modern, 15 years ago, if Sylvain Distin wasn't playing, we couldn't keep a clean sheet. It was as simple as that. A bit later on, if Tevez wasn't playing, we couldn't score goals. If Aguero's not playing, we can't score goals. If Company's not playing, our defence is all 6s and 7s. And it didn't matter who we were playing. It didn't matter whether it was a big team, relegated to Wigan in the FA Cup. It didn't matter. If there was a player out, like a Company or just one key player, everything went to pot. And it's the same now. Aguero wasn't playing at weekend. We had 16 shots against Arsenal. We had one on target, and it was from Mahrez. You know, so it's all right saying, "Oh, we need this one voice." You know, this Bonucci style player. Well, I think we need a couple of players like that because you can't just rely on one. It's the same with any position. You can't just have. You know, we've got Ederson. If Ederson was out for a full season, we couldn't really rely on Bravo to do the job. You know, you need to have somebody fighting for that position. And as for Guardiola with his motivational, it's not my job. I'm sorry, he's talking utter crap. English, you know, I know what Jane's saying about, you know, English isn't his first language, but English, I'm guessing, isn't the first language of the vast majority of our players. And where, you know, if I go to work now and I underperform or if I don't do my job properly, I know it doesn't matter what language my boss is going to speak to me in, it's not going to be good news and I'll get disciplined for it. The problem with football is, yes, they're getting paid a fortune. No discipline in football. I mean, football has to be the weirdest kind of job in the world because it doesn't matter how shit you, even as a manager, you could be relegated twice. You could, you know, that's on your CV. You'll still get a job. You know, if I go to an interview and says, "Yeah, I've been sacked from my last 3 jobs because I didn't perform to the standards they wanted," I'm not going to get a job. You know, from an interview, it's really peculiar. But for him to say it's not his job to motivate, what is your job then? Because I'm sorry, going to Man City, any one of us now could just go pull 11 names out of a hat and tell the lads, right, go sort yourselves out. Those lads have been playing football since they can stand up. I mean, my lad's 17-month-old. He runs up and down kicking a football. That's what they've been doing. That's what they're paid to do. They know, right, you'll be taking penalties. I'll be in this position. You'll be in that position. You could have a squad of 11 goalkeepers and they'd still do a job. It's a manager. It's in the clues in the name. You're a manager. You've got to manage those players. And I'm sorry, you don't. If you're good at motivating somebody, you don't need to say or lift a finger. I mean, I'm a qualified teacher. I specialise in behaviour management. You can literally just give them the look, and they know, Jesus, I'm in shit. If I don't pull my finger out, I'm for it. And he doesn't seem to have that. But I don't think it necessarily has to be his job. I'm not saying it isn't his job, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, my dad always goes on about Malcolm Allison and, oh God, who was it? Who was with him?
Joe Mercer.
Joe Mercer. There you go. He had, one did the team and one did the man management, and that's how it worked. And I think we had Brian Kidd in that kind of role. You know, we had him with Mancini, with Pellegrini. He was kind of that voice for the players. He'd put their arm around them. He'd say, "Oh, you pull your finger out," or you know, the soft touch. That's something we don't have at the minute. We don't have that person who can talk to those players as an individual.
Well,
it doesn't have to be a player. It doesn't have to be it could be anybody, but that's what we need.
I honestly believe, Chris, that we miss Arteta a great deal for that. Because if anyone watched the All or Nothing show on Amazon, you could see that not only did Guardiola just totally rely on Arteta's opinion, but Arteta was the one who was putting his arm around the players' shoulders when they were having a poor game, particularly Sterling. I actually give more credit to Arteta for how Sterling's come on than I do Guardiola.
I've said it before.
I think he's a big miss.
For me, Guardiola, yes, he might have the tactics, he might have the that kind of mind. I certainly don't think he's a man motivator. And I've said it before, and I know people laughed and slated me, but could you imagine if we had Guardiola instead of Joe Royle when we were in Division 2? I don't think Guardiola could have done that job. He couldn't have got back-to-back promotions and taken a team from the jaws of defeat like that. I don't think he's actually got that mindset. It's all right if you're a winner and you can win every week, but you look at managers like Sam Allardyce and Mick McCarthy, teams who've fought relegation battles. Could you imagine Pep in a relegation dogfight for a season? He'd grow hair just to go grey, because I don't think he'd know where to start. You know, if you're used to the best, then when you don't have the best performing, you're a loss. I mean, I used my analogy the other week, didn't I, about the chefs? And it's that kind of thing. If you've got the cream of the crop, and if one day they're not performing to the best, you know, if they're not putting in that effort that you're used to, I think he's a bit lost in terms of, right, how do I get them to do that?
Yeah.
But,
Well, we could go talk about this all day, as you know. But next question is this. Cancelo had a great game yesterday at left back, albeit it was against Watford. How comfortable are we of potentially playing Cancelo at left back against Real Madrid in a couple of weeks' time?
Hmm.
That's
depends how we
right?
It's all based on one game, isn't it? We're basing it on one game.
I don't think I'll be comfortable watching against Real Madrid and anyone playing anywhere, to be honest. It's going to be a bit twitchy bum time. I think whatever, especially defence. If we play like we played against Arsenal defensively, we're going to get torn apart. But if we do what we do best and, you know, keep attacking and don't let them get to the defensive line, obviously going to break through a couple of times, aren't they? But yeah, I don't know. It worries me a bit, I must admit. We need to pull something out of the bag defensively for that game.
So are we kind of thinking that that's maybe another position that we need to strengthen then? And, you know, Mendy's just not the same player now. I think those 2 years of injuries have really taken the toll. He's a good player. He's not an exceptional player anymore. Zinchenko, it was never really his position anyway. We got rid of Delph, who played really well in that left-back position for us. Do we have to go in for a Chilwell? Do we think we need a left back, or do we give Cancelo a chance there?
Yeah, do you know what's frustrating with Mendy though? You look how he played against Liverpool. Absolutely incredible, wasn't he? And it was like he's going up the wing, he's putting balls, he's getting back, he's defending well, and then a week later he's back to his old tricks. But say left back, I don't know. Because I quite like Zinchenko. Not the most confidence in him, but at the same time, I think he gets forward well, gets back well. But I think realistically, though, if you're looking long term, I think we do need to find someone a bit more capable, and then maybe try playing Zinchenko on the left wing, and then see how that pans out.
Yep.
Well, I mean, that's where he plays for his country. You know, he's captain of his country. You know, he's a left-sided midfielder and plays very well there. And that's my understanding is why City bought him in the first place, to be somewhat of a utility midfielder. And then we needed him at left back, and he did pretty well there. But is he going to be the answer? That's going to be the big thing. So. Yeah, I don't know on that one. I just know he had a decent game. I said on after the Watford game yesterday, I think the proof will be if Cancelo plays against Norwich at the weekend, Guardiola gives him another chance in that position, and he does well. That for me would suggest that he's going to start the Real Madrid game at the left back position. So
absolutely,
yeah.
The worrying thing for me is, as I said to you before, Dave, there seems to be a worldwide shortage of world-class left-backs.
Yep.
You go back 20 years,
strikers.
You had Paolo Maldini, Roberto Carlos. You know, there was a list of left-backs, and they were all quality. Paul Robertson is basically the only decent one I can think of off the top of my head who I want at City. Everyone else is kind of, they have the good days, the bad days. And for me, looking at this Real Madrid game coming up now, every time I think about it, my arse chews through another pair of boxes, because I'm absolutely worried, because I don't know how Pep's going to approach it. And to me, the worst possible scenario is he does like we did against Wolves in the second half. Because we've got that 2-1 lead with 2 away goals. He knows that providing Real don't score 2 more goals than us, we're through. And I think the worst possible thing he's going to do is he's going to come out and set up quite defensively, maybe 5 at the back. And I think the only positive from that is if he has like Walker, Garcia, and Laporte, and then play with Mendy and Zinchenko and just have 2 left backs. You know,
I think if we go too defensively, I think we'll get punished.
That is the serious concern. We just got to play the football that he played last season and the season before.
Yeah,
you know, and to me, it's got to be Zinchenko at left back. You know, he's the more attacking left back. He was the one, you know, when we broke all our records with the Centurions, he played left back most of the season and was brilliant. And I think he's less injury prone. Less incident prone. Mendy has that moment in him. You know, he'll be great 1 minute and then all of a sudden, oh God, it's gone.
I'm reading the comments here, and I did not realise this, but I'm being told that Mendy is banned for the Real Madrid game.
Well, that's problem solved then, isn't it?
So, I mean, but that suggests why Pep Guardiola played Cancelo at left back. I mean, this is an international player, a lot of experience to see if he can do it. Again, it was against Watford. I think if he plays in that same position on Sunday, then I think he's going to start the Real Madrid game, particularly if Mendy's out.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we set up too defensively, we're done. Because I've been saying this for weeks now. Benzema is in the absolute form of his life. The only good thing for us from a Real Madrid standpoint is that Ramos is out. He's suspended. He's been absolutely brilliant.
Because Ramos is like that David Luiz. He has that stupidity in him. You know, he has that first-class prick nature about him that it could be the biggest game of the season and all of a sudden he'll get himself sent off. Or he'll do something stupid.
But he seems to get away with it, Chris, when he does it. And I mean, he's like Golden Boy in La Liga, isn't he? You know, he's the Spanish captain, whatever. I mean,
plays for the Golden Boy club, that's why.
Yeah. He seems to get. I'm very glad that he is not in the team because he's been sensational for Real Madrid since the restart. But yeah, we're going to have to be so careful. It's going to have to be some performance. I know we're winning the game 2-1, but I think it's going to have to be some performance from us.
I'll tell you something, though. With the way City have performed this year, I mean, we beat Liverpool the other week. You know, they'd won the league. We had to give them the guard of honour, and then we went and absolutely shafted them, good and proper. And we've done it a few times this season. We've just turned up and battered teams. And then we played crap against Southampton. We played crap against Arsenal. Just watch it next week. You know, well, later this week when we play Norwich, we'll lose. It'll be a dreadful performance. And we'll do 3-0 against Real.
Well, you've always seen.
We will get an early goal. We'll get an early goal. They will have to give it everything they've got, and we'll just pick them apart.
We've always had the propensity to lose against the teams that we should absolutely hammer.
Yeah, and then beat the teams that we should get battered by.
Yeah.
I remember when we went to Chelsea, didn't we, 3 years ago with Bellamy and the infamous Wayne Bridge thing. We tore them a new one at Stamford Bridge. Yeah. And even the year that they went and won the league, we were the only team to beat them that season. It's just what City do. It wouldn't be City if it wasn't. And I said it the other week after when we got the cast result. The stage is set. The final act is coming. Everything is set for a real, proper Man City drama. You know, it's like the end of the trilogy, innit? We've had the first part where it was the two promotions, you know, with the Wembley and Joe Royal. We've had the second act with Mancini and the 93-20. Let's finish it all off now with the Champions League in the year that it looked like we were going to get banned and everything's against us.
So that would be the biggest middle finger in the world to UEFA, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then next year we'll say,
Definitely.
"No, we don't fancy it. We're not going to enter, but we're keeping the cup."
Not a bad shout, that, Chris. That's not a bad way of looking at it.
It's
Not
just City, isn't it? It is Man City. It's how I've grown.
Yeah.
In fact, I would be so disappointed if it didn't happen that way. I would be disappointed, not because we've lost the Champions, not because we've not won it. It's just because we've not done it in the year we're supposed to.
Yeah.
This is where all the drama won't be as good as this ever again, will it?
No, I think you might have a good point there. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed, and we'll be plenty of shows before that. So I'm going to wrap this up with going back to the Who Am I? Anyone have any clue?
No idea.
No idea?
I think I've got it.
All right, Chris.
Can I ask, is this, if this is the player I'm thinking of, his hairstyle was almost as good as mine? He
yes.
came promisingly from Serie A.
Yeah.
He scored on his debut against West Ham in a 2-0 win. It's Rolando Bianchi.
That is absolutely bob on.
Yeah, I'll take a point.
Well played, well played.
He played a massive 19 games for us and scored 4 goals. He was he signed in the July and he'd gone back to Italy by the January because he complained, I don't know if you remember any of this, that he hated the weather, he hated Manchester culture, he hated food, and he wanted to go back. And Sven-Göran Eriksson just was like, all right.
He said the cold weather and the fog used to make his hair fuzzy, and there was no barbers in Manchester that had the product to fix it. So he ended up going back to Italy, where he got his, I think it was Nicky Clark he used to use on his hair.
And when was that? When was
that? 2000 and hold on.
Bianchi was 2007.
Yeah. Under Sven. Sven bought him. He just had a season at Serie A, and he scored something like 20-odd goals for a club that finished like mid-table.
Yeah, he played for
ridiculous.
Regina.
Yeah. It was ridiculous. He was really good. And then, like I said, he scored on his debut. It all looked good because there was him and Giovanni who scored. And then just everything went downhill from there.
Yeah, if you remember that, there's that really famous photo of Sven-Göran Eriksson when he signed about 18 players in one day. And, and the photo of him standing with them all in the Etihad. But rather Rolando Bianchi go, that's the same day we signed Elano, one of the best midfielders that we've ever had. And one player I was really excited about who Eriksson signed and just got injured straight away was Bojinov. He was a pre-Aguero. He was a wonderful player, and we never saw him. He played about
11 minutes.
Didn't even play 10 games for us. I don't think.
I think he managed it something like 11 minutes or something in his opening game. Didn't touch the ball and did his ACL. But that photo you're on about with all those players, I'm sure 2 of them were just passing City fans. They were kind of just like dragged in and like, hold that scarf and there you go. You signed. It was. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you got to give it to Thaksin Shinawatra. He actually did put his hand in his pocket a little bit, didn't he, for us? With
it wasn't his pocket though, was it? It was someone else's money.
Well, it was Thailand's money, but he just gave it to Manchester City.
Yeah, well, why not?
Right. Well, I think we can look forward to Sunday, everyone. I think there's going to be, from my perspective, I think there's going to be a lot of indicators on Sunday, the team he plays, as to what he's thinking about for the Champions League game the following week. So in case we don't speak to you, Jane, Lee, I want your predictions for Norwich on Sunday, and I want your prediction for Champions League.
Norwich. I think Norwich will spank Norwich, if I'm being honest. I'm going to go 5-0 Norwich. And then 1-0 Real Madrid.
I'll take that. I'll definitely take that.
I'll take that.
I'm probably a bit more conservative, so I'll go for 3-0 with Norwich. And I think it's going to be sort of fairly even for the Champions League. So I think it could easily be a draw. 0-0 even.
I will take that.
That'll do.
All day. All day.
I'll take the most boring game of football you've ever watched in your life. No shots on target.
Laney, what are you thinking?
Norwich, I think it's going to be an either or. I can see it being, like Jane said, I can see it being 3-0. I can equally see it being 2-1 to Norwich as well. I hope David Silva gets a goal, end his Premier League career on a high.
Yeah, Silva's going to get the 5th one that I predicted.
Let's hope
Real Madrid. Real Madrid. I just hope for my health that it's 3-0. I can see it being 3-0. That the idea of it being 1-1, it's sod's law that Real will score first, and then that'll be it. There'll be so many deaths throughout Manchester that won't be COVID related. It'll be all just heart attacks and strokes from watching the City game. I can't be doing that.
With the old predictions and that, obviously City have got nothing to play for now. We're finishing second. Are you going to risk Sterling, De Bruyne, Silva against Norwich? You risk getting them injured.
If any of you watched the Norwich Burnley game, some of the challenges Norwich players were throwing in. I mean, they had 2 players sent off for just reckless.
Yeah,
it was almost like that. We got relegated. I'm taking my ball in and going home. And you're going home crying. It was
especially against City, innit? It's going to be like, we're going to get better, dear lads. Let's just take as many of them out as we can.
Yeah.
I hope he plays a second string. Don't play De Bruyne. If he gets injured, we're knackered against Madrid.
Yeah.
If he gets injured, Sterling wouldn't play Sterling.
So Bravo hasn't gone anywhere yet. Do we play Bravo on Sunday, just in case?
I would.
Carson.
I would.
Give Carson came on loan.
Yeah.
Give Carson a chance to show how good he is. Bless him.
I don't think,
I'd love to see Garcia and Howard Bellis at back.
Yeah,
Howard, and then I'd love to see Tommy Doyle and Foden in the middle, because I think those 4 are going to be our 4. That is the future of Manchester City. Let's see it.
Garcia I like Garcia. He looks quality. He does.
Oh, he does.
Still young. Foden. Foden's my little idol, and I love him. Little Phil.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. If there's ever a game, if Ederson does play, where he could get a goal and we can win a penalty, this game doesn't mean anything, as in we've already secured second place. Norwich are already down. Why not, if we get a penalty and Ederson's playing, why not
let him have it?
Let him have it.
Play him up front. Like I said, put Carson in goal, Bravo on the bench. We haven't got a striker. Jesus is more of a left winger. We need to save him for Real.
And he's tall.
Yeah, he's tall.
He's a beauty, isn't he? You won't want to mess with him.
Stick Ederson up front.
He's got 100%. Walker's got 100% clean sheet record in goal.
Yeah, there you go. Why not?
That's not. Well, Ederson, that was his. He went back in Brazil. He was a striker before he moved back into goal. Yeah. So
it's the best way, isn't it? You've got to know your enemy. So if you're you want to be the best goalkeeper, you've got to be the best striker. I bet I'd watch him score an overhead kick against Norwich. Put your money on it.
I mean, the odds that you get on that, we'll have to talk to Halifax. The odds that you get on that Ederson overhead kick against Norwich, that's got to be 5,000 to 1.
I'll tell you what, I'm not going to put a bet on it because I'm so poor. I don't have the money to. If that happens, I will be jumping off something high because I'll be so upset. I'm calling it now.
Imagine you're 1-0 down, 93rd minute corner. Oh, bloody hell, here he comes.
It'd be like if you've seen Mean Machine, it'd be like Jason Statham in that. Everything will just go black and white. His face will just drop, and he'll just go.
You never be so glad to see someone miss when we're 1-0 down.
Yeah. Was it the Honey Monster advert for Sugar Puffs, where he ran up the length of the pitch and scored like a diving header? Back in the 90s, yeah. I could see Ederson doing that. That'd be good.
Awesome. All right. We've had a good hour now. We've got some great comments coming through. So thank you, everyone. Sorry we didn't really get through most of them. apologies on that, but let's look forward to Sunday. Jane, Lee, Chris, thank you for joining me. And
Thanks for having
keep
us.
the comments coming. We'll try and answer them.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
guys.
See you till we
Cheers,
die.
guys.
See you
See ya.
See
later.
you later.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.